committee chair for receipt of the working papers and the spreadsheets that were utilized in calculating the adjustments on general fund revenues. And we gave till 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We had representatives of our office present here till 7 in the evening, and unfortunately there was no receipt of any working papers or spreadsheets from the administration in regards to how they calculated these projections. This hearing was scheduled for 10 o'clock this morning. It is 10:20, and we have still not received any word from representatives of the administration, and there are no representatives of the administrations present at this time. I think the legislative body has been very, very patient, deliberate, and cordial with representatives of the administration, especially in light of the delays in receiving this bill. And with that, we've worked diligently to address some of the issues with the bill. And I want to congratulate all of you folks for the decorum that has been put forth by the members of the legislature in our discussions and dialogue with the administration. It seems obvious to me that the administration is in no hurry to move forward in this particular piece of legislation. And though, of course, there have been statements about a furlough, pending furlough by the end of the month, again, there has been 3 delays in presentation of the bill. When it came to asking, and by the way, I want to congratulate all of you folks because we've gotten a lot of this information in a short period of time, and you've had to absorb this bill, the same as a committee. And again, when we've asked questions, we haven't had the proper explanations as to how they came up with these numbers. And now when we request their worksheets, they have been unable to provide those worksheets. But obviously, this does not seem to be in a very emergent situation for the administration. And I think it's important that I don't want to waste anyone here's time as we wait for the administration. So what I'm going to do is again make it public that there is no necessity for a committee as a whole until hard facts, documents, as well as representatives of the administrations are ready and willing to work with us. So with that, we're going to recess. And I wish I could say when we'll come back, but we will recess subject to the administration coming to us stating the dire need to get together to deal with their bill. And obviously, it doesn't seem to be of emergency or priority to the administration. So we're going to recess. Well, subject to, let's say, tell you what, why don't we recess? We'll come back at 2 o'clock. I'm hopeful that the administration will have something prepared for us, and I'm hopeful that we have representatives of the administration available as well. So we're going to recess till 2 o'clock.
Head of OFB, Vice Chairman Senator Eddie Bazakawa.
Sure, okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Again, how we left off yesterday is that we were in the withholding tax category. And within the withholding tax category, I did note that the adjustments made on withholding taxes, there was a downward adjustment of from 188,644,496 to 155,143,392. And again, when I requested from members of the administration the evaluation and the formulas and how they came to that number, it was based on what we had been listening to in regards to corporate and individual tax. When the adjustments were made, statements were made by members of the administration that they had, again, originally, there was a 3-year model that had been used in the past. They went to a 5-year model and then a 9-year model. And when other questions were asked from members of the committee and the legislature in regards to how they came up with certain projections where, again, there was increases in corporate, decreases in corporate and increases in individual, it seemed that there would be there was a different methodology that could have been used, because again, you said there were certain years that were picked. And what got me with withholding is I did note that based on the new number that was being provided by the administration of 155,143,392, that it would show that there would be a reduction from prior year actual 2006 revenues, which was at $164,515,324. That's over $9 million, or 5 points, almost 6% reduction in revenues when it comes to withholding tax, interest, and penalties. And yet, when I requested and I had verification from members of the administration that as of year to date, February 28th, 2007, as compared to fiscal year 2006, we were about actually close to $200,000 over in collections as opposed to the previous year. And that's where I just kind of, I couldn't understand what formula and methodology could be used, especially with withholding taxes. Year-to-date, actual hard numbers are up. How could we then look towards a collapse in revenues for the next 7 months where there would be an over $9 million reduction on revenues as compared to the previous year? And again, that's prefacing the question I'm having now. This is what occurred, and I'm going to request from members of the administration. I see the spreadsheet here, but just explain to me, and as simple as possible, how can you track 5 months over the previous year, and ever so slightly, but you're tracking over the previous fiscal year, and then what it appears is for the next 7 months there will be a severe downturn in collections for withholding. Please explain to me that formula and how that came about. Sure. Okay. What is the basic question? I'm going to allow the speaker to ask an even more simple question.
Yeah. Okay. Speaker Forbes.
I just want to know what I'm looking at. Is this what I'm looking at? Am I reading it wrong? FY07, that's this year, right? That's the current fiscal year? I see total individual 41,648,769. Is that the projection? Because in the bill, the projection is 61491,271. And then I look at corporate, and when I look at the end of 07, it says 670,47384. And then when I look at the bill, it's six. What is it?
Actually,
6-1. And then when I look at withholding, when I look at the end, I see 162. I see 162. $162,263,248. But when I look in the bill, I see $155,143,393. It seems to me that the spreadsheet and the bill have almost number by number different numbers. And I realize that's a very basic question, but now I'm kind of really confused. Should I be paying attention to the numbers in the bill? Should I be paying attention to the numbers in the spreadsheet?
I have Matt Pinata from the budget office. Who can
Well, no,
explain
I understand that, but I'm getting real basic here. I thought the spreadsheet was meant to illustrate how you derive a number at its very basic surface level, not even getting into the explanation of how this happens or how that happens. In my simple, non-economist, non-PhD in math, non-budget analyst kind of mind, it would seem to me essential that the number at the end of this column here be the same as the number in the bill, or else this can't explain the number in the bill. And I think that's so fundamental a thing that it kind of just calls into question either every number that's in here or every number that's in here or some combination of both, because the numbers don't. In fact, I'm going to go through this real quick just to make sure that I'm right. But like individual, there's a variance of $19 million. In corporate, there's a variance of about $6 million, well, 5 point something million dollars. In withholding, there's a variance of $9 million. Provision for tax refund here is $75 million. Provision for tax refund here is $68 million. What else? That's the first page. I go to the second page. Total income tax is total income tax gini? No, in the budget. Well, they don't really have it. Yeah, okay. I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but it says gross receipts. That's the same, almost. 171,200. But that's 171,200, I assume, at the current tax rate. And I'm assuming your 171 in here includes your 25% increase in GRT. So your analysis says that you're going to hit that target without increasing gross receipts tax. I mean, I'm just reading what I'm seeing in front of me.
I understand. It may be confusing, but I believe the budget office has a methodology that Matt can explain.
But see, that methodology should be here. It shouldn't be that I have one set of numbers and then I need an explanation of why this set of numbers doesn't match that set of numbers. The whole notion was you guys were going to come in, you're going to give us analysis, and at the end of the analysis, the numbers would be the same. But what's been handed out here, almost every number is different than what's in the bill. And I really have no idea how to proceed.
Mr. Speaker, do you want the gentleman from BVMR to respond?
Well, not if I'm going to get an explanation that tells me that every number here I shouldn't pay attention to. Because if I'm going to get an explanation that says this entire handout has to be subjected to a fourth level of analysis to get me from here to here, then Matt, I don't know what, I mean, I thought this was going to, match. You don't. Did you do this, Matt? Is this a BBMR product? Were you involved in the creation of this thing?
In regards to
the October through September numbers for each of these categories?
Yes, we were using, the...
No, I'm just saying, I'm sorry, but I want really simple answers to really simple questions. Did you guys put these numbers together?
BBMR.
Okay. Did you guys come up with the final numbers here in the bill where it says amount for revenues?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Because that could explain a lot about why the numbers here are not the same as the numbers here. Huh? Well, I don't want to do that. I'm just saying that I'm kind of like, not flabbergasted, what's the word? I don't know where to go from here because I thought this analysis was going to explain these numbers. And if this analysis has totals that are different than the numbers in the bill, then this cannot explain this. And I know I'm being very simplistic, but, the regular kind of Joe, and I'm just a regular kind of Joe, looking at this, you can't, I don't understand how this breakdown can have different totals than this breakdown. And yet we're all going to wind up in the same place. It's just odd. So, maybe for now what we'll do is we'll bear in mind that these numbers don't jibe. And maybe for now what we'll do is can we agree at least? Can we agree that if this is meant to explain what's in the bill, that the numbers ought to be the same? Is that reasonable? Is that a reasonable assumption? Matt, you're kind of shaking your head. Does that mean yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Or is it, because when you take a look at the bottom line here, Matt, the bottom line is what you get to the 434.
Yeah.
The one in the bill is what gets you to what? 477, which includes all the borrowing.
And the tax amnesty. But we're not looking at that.
I know.
I'm looking at category by category. The tax amnesty is a separate category. Personal income tax is a separate category. GRT is a separate category. And I'm assuming, am I right, that this total in this bill for GRT presumes that there is a 1% increase in GRT for the remaining half of the year?
It does.
Well, it has to, or else your revenues are off because
Right.
your bill calls for it. So, all right, let's make it real simple, even though I'm totally wrong and off base here, and just give me an illustration, and then I'll leave it alone, and Senator Calvo can go back to his questioning.
I should have read the spreadsheet.
Yeah, how can, in this bill, the GRT number be almost the same as the GRT number in this spreadsheet, when this spreadsheet does not include a 25% increase in GRT, and this bill does? How can the numbers be the same?
First of all, just clarification.
Well, no.
I didn't hear. No, but I want to ask him: is this at 4% in the spreadsheet or at 5%?
4%.
4%. That's this is a regular. This is just a regular application of the 4% GRT. That's obvious looking at it.
Is this 4% or 5% on GRT?
It has to be 5.
It might has to be, but I just want to hear it for the record. This
It includes the one.
Yeah,
what?
it has to-
5%.
Has to include it.
So 4% is the same as 5%, depending on the spreadsheet, whether you read the spreadsheet or the proposed budget.
Okay, Senator Calvo.
Well, I wanted to get an answer. I didn't get an answer yet. How is it possible, or is it possible, because you guys are experts and I'm not, is it possible that you could have a 4% gross receipts tax over the course of the year and then increase that gross receipts tax by 25% for half the year and still wind up with the same number? Is that possible? No, that's not possible. Okay, Matt, can you say it into the thing a little louder so it'll get on the tape recorder? I mean, it doesn't seem possible to me. It seems impossible. Would you agree that that is a mathematical impossibility?
I would agree.
You would agree? Okay. Then, guys, I'm sorry, but then I don't know. I don't know what this, because if that's a mathematical impossibility, then this whole thing is a mathematical impossibility.
Folks, you know what? Again, we were hoping that with the spreadsheet, we would get the formula, the methodology, how you got this. I think we want to work with you in good faith, but we in order to move forward, there's some very difficult decisions that you are requesting for in this bill, such as an increase in taxes and taking out of a $30 million line of credit. But you came to us because there was an issue regards to revenues. But now the calculations that you are providing to this body in regards to those projected revenues and the adjustments, there is contradiction here. I feel like we're in quicksand, and I don't know. I'm looking for any stable ground or foundation to stand on so we can move forward, and I don't see it. So, well, I'm not too sure what we can do at this point, but Senator Guthertz has a question because I don't know where to go from here.
Are you completed, Senator Calvo? Senator Guthertz, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yeah, this is just sort of an observation. Let's go back to our projection for the fiscal year as it exists at this point, based on the monies that are coming in. We are foreseeing about $434 million as the anticipated revenue so far. Is that correct? That's our projection. but we have to get up to 477, 502, 329 in order to cover all the expenses of this government that we are seeing for this year. Is that correct? Basically?
Basically, that is our problem at the moment.
Right.
That
How to cover these
How
costs?
to cover a lot of expenses that we are incurring with the cash that we have.
Right. Okay. Now, so if you want to move from 434 to 477, in the bill, you're saying that certain things have to happen. The key things that I see are, first, you are projecting that with the tax amnesty, you anticipate generating $30 million. Is that correct?
Yes, we're going to try and get that.
All right. Okay. Now, of course, that's a number, that's your goal, but there's no way of knowing whether or not we'll be able to really do that. We're going to try, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Then, we're also saying that because of the executive order of the governor, we're going to be able to maybe generate about $12 million. Correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the gross receipts taxes, what is the figure that you are anticipating again from the gross receipts taxes? $17 million, is that correct? You're projecting?
12.7.
But, you know, Mr. Logan, I heard somewhere, I think it was you that said, I don't know if it was on television, an interview, that you were sort of projecting more than 12. Am I right?
I can't remember that interview.
Was this last couple of days? More than 12, but closer to 17. That's what I heard.
Oh, are you talking about the amnesty? Are you talking about the amnesty?
Oh, this was for the amnesty?
Yes.
Okay. For the real property or for the GRT?
This is for the, I believe, a portion of the income tax, a portion of the GRT.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So that would bring it up to 17 million?
Total, yeah, 17 million for both the income tax and the GRT.
And GRT. Okay. Now, see, I have a similar concern that Senator Calvo has and Senator Forbes has. I don't see how the GRT is going to get us where the projection is that you're offering us. Because last night I went over the GRT revenues of the government of Guam for 5-6 years from the data that was available. And I have not really seen a significant increase in the GRT except for that brief period of time, I believe it was 3 years ago, when we saw that temporary increase of 2%. Other than that, over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we have not really seen a substantial increase in the gross receipts tax revenue. The reason I bring this up is among the proposals of the governor is to increase the gross receipts tax by 1% for 18 months. And I'm not certain that that is going to be a popular initiative among the senators. What's interesting about that is that not only is the business community reluctant to do it and up in arms against it, but so are the average working people of our island, both private sector and public sector. They seem to be very adamant against increasing the gross receipts tax. So I'm kind of concerned about whether or not that figure that you're projecting will be realized, particularly if this legislature is not supportive of increasing the gross receipts tax by 1%. I think what we need to know here, and I'm looking at these numbers and I'm seeing sort of a pattern. This is the pattern that I'm seeing. You folks have a goal that you've transmitted to us. You want to identify revenue that will cover expenditures up to $477 million. We are seeing perhaps a $430 million revenue for this fiscal year. The numbers that you're providing us seem to be designed to support projected revenue increases to get us to that 477 number, but without a base or a rationale that is really acceptable. The reason we're very concerned, I know in my case I'm very concerned, is because the last projections that we used for the current fiscal year budget were not realistic. And those numbers were offered by the administration to this legislature, and I understand the last legislature accepted those numbers with a few senators objecting because they felt they were too optimistic. So now we're here again, and we're getting numbers again that don't seem to fit a real rational basis of projection. And in some ways, they seem to be made up to fit the goal to hit 477. So that's what I think you folks have to dispel here. Once we can dispel that, if we can just know exactly how you came up with these numbers and agree that they may not be workable, then we can get down to work and move forward. That's my statement. Thank you.
Senator Calvo?
I know I've asked this question before, and I'm going to have to ask it again. In fact, I'm going to request it. Obviously, Matt, you have been advised and you've been briefed by management as to the spreadsheet. And obviously, management would mean the BBMR director, Carlos Berdalio, and I'm sure it's apparent to everyone here that BBMR, the agency, the lead agency that is responsible for, again, historical tracking, projections moving forward in revenues, and then, of course, adjusting spending based on actual collections, that they have been, there has been no presence of BBMR. And now we have a representative from BBMR that is answering to a senior management level team at BBMR. And if you are answering to this particular spreadsheet, and you're answering and you're saying it was prepared by management of BBMR, I think the only way we can move forward in this thing is to request that BBMR director present himself to this body and explain to us where we're at, and maybe they can assist us in deciding which direction and where we go from here. Can we take a few minute recess?
Committee of the Whole and be in recess.